Four sets of minutes.
Four sets.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting for the Foxborough School Committee, February 25th, 2025. And just to let everyone know, this will be broadcast live on Foxboro Cable Access. So we're going to start out the meeting with the open public comment. We did just check, and it doesn't look like anyone is signed up for comment. So we are going to move right along to the approval of minutes. Now, we do have 4 sets of minutes here, both regular meeting and subcommittee meeting. So if anyone would like to address these.
On the meeting minutes from the November 26, 2024 meeting, on the bottom of page 4, the MSC wrap-up, there's a reference here to Sarah, you sharing the documents that were received at the event with the committee members. I personally never received those documents, which is completely fine. I checked both my Foxborough Public School account as well as my personal account, so I didn't receive those. So it looked like if they didn't go out, I'd rather just have that sentence struck from the minutes, because I'm not sure there's a lot of reason to send those minutes out now.
Or to keep that in there.
I'm looking at this now. Okay, well,
Right there.
Sure.
well, we need a second before we can actually, we're supposed to have a second
Well, we have a
before we
motion. We need a
discuss.
motion.
We need a motion, and then,
Well, so the motion would be approval of the minutes with the suggested edit or approval of the minutes without the edit. So my motion is approve the minutes with the requested edits.
okay, that's fine. Is there a second on that?
Sure. Second, Madam Chair.
Okay, any further discussion? Just to address that, I'm sorry, it's from November, so I'll make sure that I do go back and make sure if there was any hiccup, we'll go ahead and address that. So I do apologize, but that's fine with me. All in favor of approving the November 26 minutes with edits?
Oh, aye.
All in favor?
I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, so all opposed and all abstain, one
I
abstain.
did not attend the meeting.
Okay, so one abstain, so 4-1, thank you very much. Okay, next set of meetings, next set of minutes.
Yep, motion to approve the November 26, 2024 minutes from the executive session.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay, and all opposed? All abstain. All right, anyone abstaining? Michelle has abstained from that. We're approving these 4-0-0. Thank you very much. Next set of minutes, January 9th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 29 from the Policy Subcommittee meeting.
Second.
All in favor? And that would be 5-0-0. Thank you very much. Last set of minutes, February 6th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the February 6, 2025 Policy Subcommittee meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? And that would be 5-0-0. Thank you very much. And I am going to call the agenda out of order just for a quick second, because now that the minutes are approved, we do have some guests in the gallery. We have the Recreation Department. We have Heather Harding, the board chair, and Deb Georgino, who is the clerk on the select board and also the recreation liaison. They have some news and updates for us.
Hello.
Thank you guys for being here, and happy birthday, Deb.
Thank you.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Heather Harding, 14 North High Street. Thank you for inviting us. It's a busy time for recreation. Many of you probably know Kristen, our new director, who was hired in the fall, and she really hit the ground running. And Kristen was also invited tonight, but she is overbooked this week, so she couldn't make it, but we fully support her, and she is doing amazing things, so I brought Debbie G instead. So just Exactly. Just to update you on some recreation things that also affect our Foxborough kids. So in addition to Kristen, who comes with years of experience. We also hired a new recreation coordinator, Audra Veritimos. I think I'm saying her last name right. Many of the kids, and some of you may know her, she has worked for us in the past, and she also works at the Ahern School. So, and her focus will be on programming, so she'll be probably doing some more coordinating with you guys. We are gearing up for our summer program, and Kristen has said that registration opens for that on March 1st, and it always fills up quickly, so we just like to get the word out. We are currently in the process of accepting applications for that, and we will be interviewing to hire some new counselors. Many of our counselors are returning, but some of them are changing roles, so we do have some vacancies to fill, so we like to get the word out if there are any interested high school students that would like to apply. They can find the information, I think it's on the town website, and it's also on the rec website. We are also updating our parent handbook as well, and school policies always serve as a really nice reference point for us, so we love it when you guys share those with us, so thank you very much for that. Ties and Tiaras, formerly known as the Father-Daughter Dance, is on April 18th this year, same location as in the past, and registration for that is open now, but it is not sold out yet, so we want to get the word out about that.
I'm knocking on wood here.
I know, I know.
It usually sells out quick.
It does, but I checked, and we still have openings. And last but not least, the rec board did authorize the purchase of AED machines, so those will be ready for use by our athletes, coaches, really anyone, I guess, that, would be in a position to need them on our fields. And this is really great because, like, our campus is a butt, and, you use our fields, we use your fields, so this is just kind of one more layer of safety and protection. So we're really excited that we're going to be able to do that. And Kristen is working with the AD to make sure we order the same ones so that there'll be consistency, because there are different types. So we want everybody, to feel comfortable with them. I think that's about it.
That wraps up the early spring.
I know.
Spring one.
Exactly. So if anybody ever has any questions or anything, feel free to ask anytime.
I had only one edit that I
Yes.
just wanted to add. You had said Kristen, but it's Kristen Pellerin. We want to give her whole name
Yes.
out because she's been, so far, she's been fantastic, and she did a great job last summer. My daughter worked for her, and she's a really nice,
Thank you. Yes.
nice
Kristen Pellerin.
addition. So
Yes.
if anyone's looking for a contact, it's out there. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Has the placement for the AEDs been decided yet, or is that part of the consultation with?
I think it's part of the consultation.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to obviously put them at fields that don't have them.
Right.
So I think one is going at Payson and one will go somewhere at Booth, but I don't know exactly where it's going to be put.
But yeah, that's what you're targeting is Payson and Booth, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Great.
it's Booth and Payson because that's probably where we most need them.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Just two comments. One, I do hope that you have also followed the recommended channels that we requested back in the fall for communicating to the greater school community at large. There's an email that I sent to you and Kristen on that, because I think the audience that's really interested in your updates is probably through those channels versus the people that might watch this meeting. So the information here is good, but I do think there are channels that could more effectively communicate that to you. So if those channels have not been followed, you could refer back to that email that came after conferring with Amy on what we would request as the proper channel. So if you would refer back to that and make sure that those have been followed, that will probably get you a better response as well as better coverage for information. And secondly, I would ask us to come up with some type of litmus. While the update is greatly appreciated, there are many other departments in this town who are also heavily involved in the lives of our children, whether they go to Foxborough Public Schools or any other school in the town. And I urge us to have caution on what we consider an appropriate update for our business meeting and what we would decline. So if, for instance, the libraries wanted to come and announce some of their programs, we would let that happen or not. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I just think we need to have some type of paradigm under which we operate going forward. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Chair,
Yes.
may I?
Yes.
Just a few things. I personally think that if any department that has any relation to the school in any slight way wants to come and give us a brief 3-minute presentation, I personally don't think that's the problem. I think the more information that we all have, the better, just because I think it's important to stay engaged. And I think we have a liaison to the rec board, but we haven't received an update since the beginning. So I actually applaud the rec board for coming on their own after being invited by us to give us an update so that we can, as school committee members, stay informed.
Thank you for your opinion.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything they would like to add? Questions? Comments? We really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for
Enjoy
coming.
the rest of your birthday.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We are going to now move on to the superintendent update.
All right, so this evening, starting not too long from now, our winter concert at the high school is taking place. That was rescheduled from earlier this month, so that is taking place this evening at the high school. Tomorrow night from 6:30 to 7:30 in the media center at the high school, we will have the focus groups for parents, guardians, caregivers, the community as part of our strategic plan. And the Teaching and Learning Alliance will be facilitating those focus groups. So we hope people will come out and provide their input because it's really helpful, obviously, to have those voices at the table as we go into our next strategic plan or our plan for success. So that's tomorrow evening. Next week, we have our Parent Academy. So that information's gone out. We'll send out a reminder. And that one's puberty, what we need to know about how it impacts our children and how to support our children through those changes. I heard at parent leaders this morning that they were really excited to see some of these opportunities coming up and that they're signing up for those. Registration is there. So sign up for that one and those different opportunities that are coming forward. As we come back from February vacation, we had 2 of our international trips that took place to get our kids back from Spain and from England. So I'm anxious to hear the student update this evening to hear how that went. Want to thank our teachers who went on those 2 trips. So for Spain, we had Miss Smith and Miss Chen who went with our students, and those were the students that came back in the fall. So that's the exchange piece when they went to go see them again, which is always exciting. And then our kids that went to Ireland, Wales, and England as far as that trip, and Miss Keller, Miss Williams, and Mr. Kaiser, who chaperoned. So it's a lot of time. It's February vacation for teachers, and particularly a chance to kind of recharge. And they were with our students and going on those wonderful trips. So I know, Stevie, you'll be able to give us a little bit more information on that. And then in addition to that, a lot going on with sports. We had a number of seasons. I won't even go into all of them. That closed out ceilings had a really strong finish, including even unified bocce for our kiddos there, and then all of, girls, boys track, our swim team, our girls gymnastics had a really strong showing as well. So we're excited to see some of our teams go forward. We'll be hosting playoffs this week too, with a doubleheader with girls and boys basketball on Thursday, and our boys hockey team as well. So congratulations to all of our athletes. Spring sports, you can sign up and register for spring sports as well. So lots going on, and it felt like spring today.
Yes, the year's flying by. That's the only bad part. We're more than halfway through. Anyone have any questions or comments for Dr. Burdos? Okay. Well, thank you very much for the update. Love the positivity. Now, students' turn.
Okay, so as was mentioned, the Spain trip happened. It was 10 days. We spent a brief period of time at the Madrid airport, and then we're in Valencia for 10 days and Sevilla for 3 days. In Valencia, we were back with the students who came here earlier in the year. It was really great to see all of them again. Everyone was, still friends. It was really great. The entire trip, everyone was, speaking Spanish, and everyone's definitely, was fully immersed in the culture. It was really fun to experience. Down at the middle school, we have a pep rally coming up on March 7th for the Unified Sports. It is going to be a fun little game. It'll be really enjoyable for everyone. And then we also have the talent show at the high school coming up to support the class of 2026 for the prom activities, and then also any of our senior year activities.
Oh, God.
Yes. Don't be shy.
There are 48
days until World Culture Night. The flyers are now up on the newsletters and into the schools, like with flyers with the QR codes. Please sign up to host tables, and if you cannot host tables, please attend the event. It is on April 14th, 6 to 8 in the high school cafeteria and media center. And also, we have 74 days until summer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another great positive update. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have Ms. Karen Sheridan to discuss grants. Approval. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I made notes. I missed it. Food service, adult meal price increase. Ms. Janice Watt, come on up. I do apologize. Sorry.
Yeah, we want to all avoid it, right? So, thank you for having me. We haven't raised the adult meal price since 2020. And the feds require us to price that meal at like a benchmark comparable to what we get for student reimbursement, as well as we get a performance base of 9 cents. So long story short, the meal should be at least $5.02. Right now it is at $4.50. So I am proposing that we raise that price to $5.25 plus tax, as well as the breakfasts, which are currently, it should be at least $2.37. It's right now $1.75, and I propose that we raise it to $2.50 plus tax. So I think we can all agree it's still a bargain when we see how much food is out there. So I don't know if you have any questions about this.
I just have one point of clarification.
Yes.
So currently, is it $1.75 flat, or is it $1.75 plus tax?
Plus tax.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was the case, but I
Yes.
just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
apologize.
Looks good. Anyone have any other questions or comments?
Just thank you for staying ahead of it.
Yes,
Sure, thank you.
appreciate it.
Motion to approve the requested food services meal price increase for adults as presented this evening.
Second.
Any further discussion, questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that would be 500. Thank you.
Thank you
Sorry
very much.
again. All right,
Thank you, Ms. Watt.
all right.
Now it's
Sorry.
me.
Now it's Ms. Karen Sheridan to talk to us about approval of grants.
I just have one grant that I'm bringing forward to recommendation to accept this new grant. It's the FY25 IDEA Federal Target Special Education Program Improvement Grant. The grant is to support schools and districts to implement the IEP Improvement Project with strong emphasis on transitioning to utilize the newly revised forms and processes. So the grant is $10,000, so I'm asking for recommendation to accept the new grant.
Fantastic. Well, thank you.
Motion to accept the fiscal year 25 IDEA Federal Targeted Special Ed Program Improvement Grant and use such funds for their intended purpose. And thank you for the language.
Yeah, that's helpful. Second, please.
Any further discussion? All in favor? And that would be an approval. 500. Thank you very much for all your work. I appreciate it. Speaking of work, we are coming next to the Policy Subcommittee. And once again, I'd like to thank you both for all your hard work as evidenced by the minutes that you passed in. You guys have been meeting fast and furious and quite often, so we do appreciate it. Thank you. Take it away.
Sure. All right. So we've got a handful of policies tonight ready for first reads. And after each one, one of us will say a few words about what the impetus for the changes were. We'd ask any input that administration has. At the outset, I'll say that the policies we're looking at tonight are very much coming from Ms. Sheridan's research and knowledge of updated policies and things that need to be just cleaned up. So I think, Ms. Sheridan, you really just teed it up for me and Nate, so thank you. Anywho, first one, file EFD, Student Food Service Accounts. The school committee is committed to providing students with healthy, nutritious meals each day so they can focus on schoolwork while also maintaining the financial integrity of the meal program and minimizing any impact on students with charges for a la carte purchases. The Foxborough School District will take part in the National School Lunch Program, the Massachusetts Universal Free Meals Program, and other food programs that may become available. The purpose of this policy is to ensure compliance with federal reporting requirements of the USDA Child Nutrition Program, as well as provide oversight and accountability for the collection of outstanding student balances. Administration of policy. The district is responsible for ensuring that the food service accounts are properly managed and accurately reported. The administration will closely monitor student school meal accounts with the goal of having all in good standing, thus eliminating negative balances and delinquent accounts. Parents, guardians will strongly be encouraged to make payments via the online payment system. By registering for an account, parents, guardians can choose to receive email alerts to low balances, set up automatic deposits to students' accounts, or schedule payments to add funds to the student account. The district administration will provide annual notice of how to access the online payment system. Definitions. Good standing, a balance in the account of $0 or more. Negative balance, or deficit accounts, a balance in the account less than $0. Delinquent, an account which has a negative balance and no contact or payments have been received from the student or parent/guardian for 30 days after first notice. Charges and balances. Under no circumstances will students be denied a lunch or receive an alternative meal due to a negative account balance. Each student will be allowed to take one regular meal per meal service period. Students may want to receive additional meals or purchase a la carte items. Students will pay for additional meals at a regular rate approved by the school committee. Student accounts will be maintained by the district food service program. The parent/guardian will be responsible for any meal changes incurred or meal charges incurred during the free meals provided. Beyond the free meals provided. If there is a financial hardship, parent/guardian should contact food services directly to discuss payment options, such as an individualized repayment plan. Blocks on accounts. Parents/guardians may contact in writing food service director to place a block on their student accounts to prohibit the purchase of an a la carte items or to set restrictions for daily spending. Refunds. For any student who has withdrawn, a written request for a refund of any funds remaining in the student's account must be submitted. For students who are graduating, a refund may be issued with a written request, or funds can be transferred to a sibling's account with a written request. Remaining balances. Any positive balances may remain on the account to be used in the following school year, be transferred to a sibling's account, or be refunded to a parent/guardians with written request. Balance notifications. Parents will receive bi-monthly negative balance notifications via email from the district. Food service employees will not discuss account balances with students. Delinquent account/collections. The superintendent shall ensure that there are appropriate and effective collection procedures and the internal controls within the school district's business office that meet the requirements of law. Each school handbook shall contain detailed instructions for family assistance. Reimbursement of food service for deficit accounts. Bad debt must be written off as an operating loss and may not be absorbed by the nonprofit school food service account. Repayment of bad debt resulting from unpaid meal charges must be restored using non-federal funds at year's end. These funds may come from the school district's general fund, special funding from the state or local governments, or any other non-federal sources. Collection efforts may continue into the next school. Legal references, MGL 7172, USDA School Meal Program Guidelines, May 2017. Cross-references, JQ, student fees, fines, and charges. Adopted October 15th, 2000, I think it was 13. All right, so there's actually a lot of updates that were represented in this one. The main was changing out the initial verbiage on kind of the purpose of the policy and keeping it in line with how we do all of our other policies, and just stating in paragraph form as opposed to a bulleted list. Other aspects were being very clear that a student isn't going to be denied a meal at any given moment because of an account balance issue. All right, and that's just humane. And then also removing the very detailed language about methods for collecting back balances and delinquent balances, which were in there and fairly onerous, and instead it was just replaced to say that business office in conjunction with administration and school services have a process for it. And those were the updates. Anything else to add, Ms. Sheridan, Dr. Berdos? Anyone?
Just a couple little.
Yep, we should fix those.
3 little.
What did you have, please? I noted them as I was going through.
Items came auto-corrected to times under charges and balances. And below that, at the bottom, individual and individual.
Yeah.
An individualized repayment plan was just spelling and adding the word and at the end, just adding the year when it was adopted last.
And then I had,
I also think students will pay for the additional meals at the regular price. So
There you go.
yep, same paragraph, and then I
And
cut
then
that.
under the last page, non-federal funds at each year, I think that's supposed to be a dash.
Yeah,
Yes.
it got, that was
Yeah, I
just
know,
a
that's
weird
that's
trend.
Formatting.
It's a formatting.
It got turned to a
thing,
square.
But just,
That's in the last section, correct?
yes, right here.
Yeah, there it is, thank you. I just want to make sure that's noted.
The only other thing I think is, and we've got Janice here this evening, some of the things that we had in there that were punitive needed to come out.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
Talking about the collection of balances and those things in order to be aligned with the way it should be.
No, thank you, I appreciate that.
I have just a couple of questions. The second paragraph in the first page that begins with the Foxborough School District will take part. I noticed that is also referenced in the second reading that we're going to see of policy EFC this evening. That similar language is also not in the policy template that MASC provides. So I'm wondering if that language is necessary or if it is language that we're adding because it adds some type of color that would not normally be understood in this policy.
Specifically saying, the word.
There's that language does not exist in the template policy, which is okay. I just didn't know what the purpose of that language is, since we do reference it specifically in policy EFC.
That was in the school MASC's policy in one of them, so I think it was just duplicated within that policy, but it was in one of them from MASC.
Yeah, it's in the EFC policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, if we have a reason for it, great. If we don't, I would love to eliminate any type of extra language that we don't need.
Extra language. What would be the omission, Mr.
It would just
Greenfield?
strike the paragraph.
Number 2, correct?
Right. I mean, if I look at the template policy, the first two, the paragraphs 1 and 3 on our proposed revisions match up almost word for word to the template policy, and then we've added that additional sentence.
No, I have the rationale for us putting in. It's not necessarily a good rationale, and I actually agree with you. But I think the reason was because any of us in here who have been looking at the food service policies have made note that the recent change in Massachusetts to have the universal free meal program, and noting that because that is an issue decided by, policy and political decisions that people were asking about it. So I think it was probably me that just dumped it in there thinking, okay, well, we do participate in these programs.
Right.
But I do agree with you that given kind of like years on the committee, past practices, keep your policies as lean as you can make them.
Right, and we do, like I said, we do reference that, we have that exact same sentence in policy EFC, which would be the more, to me, would be the more appropriate place for it.
Well, and then I'll just put it out to the rest of you, Mr. Canfield, and the rest of the committee and administration. If you don't think that paragraph is specifically adding anything of value to this policy, then I'd say, fine, let's just get rid of it. And
What do you think?
we can also, table it to committee too. I just didn't know if it would collect any other opinions.
I personally don't think it hurts. I think it's just referencing another policy, which a number of our policies do. We're just referencing something that's already in another policy. So I don't think it hurts to have this just because it mentions the programs that we participate in, and those are quite essential when we talk about food services and anything we talk about food services. I think these programs are very essential, so I don't think it's necessary to strike it, but I'm not the full committee, so we do what the will of the committee wants.
I agree.
It's also fair, Nathan. I think you're jogging my memory too, that I think one of the reasons we agreed to put it in there was also because some of the rationale for a few of the changes in this generation of the policy was specifically owing to the Massachusetts Universal Free Meals Program. Because whereas before, I think the substantive bit is that, we only had one meal as opposed to, thankfully now we also offer breakfast. So.
That's how I read it.
Okay, so again, if there is a purpose to that language, great. If it is decorative, then I suggest we strike it. But if everyone feels like there is a purpose for that language, if there's meant to be a cross-reference to another policy, as you just mentioned, Mr. Ehrman, we do need to specifically call out what that policy is.
Honestly, I think, you know what, let's take my thinking is, let's take a look at either a tweak, like a clause at the front or the back of that language and tie it in and then specifically reference the policy or not, okay? But we can decide that. We can look, or we can look at that next policy subcommittee, in which case then, as with all this stuff, you folks get to review it the next time, at our next regular meeting. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
So my next question, thank you, Mr. Reuter and Mr. Ehrman. My next question, top of page 2, first paragraph, second sentence. Should we clarify by saying due to a negative or delinquent account? Are we assuming that everyone, that delinquent, and it does fall under the umbrella if you're reading the definition, but does it add clarity by just saying negative account balance or delinquent account? If everybody sees where I'm speaking.
I think, we have the definitions, the paragraph right before it, so I think, it does, I guess we could add it. I don't think it's necessary just because you're reading the definition of delinquent and then 2 sentences later, that's where you're reading, and the same thing with negative. It's all like chronologically right after each other, but if the committee thinks there's a need to add.
I actually would, the reason I question it was because we did specifically define we did specifically call out negative account balances versus delinquent accounts on the previous page. So I'm trying to mirror what is on the previous page, or I'm suggesting, that we mirror what is on the previous page by saying negative account balance or delinquent account, just for clarity, so that somebody says, you don't specifically reference delinquent accounts here.
Oh, okay.
If we had not spelled it out, or if we had put it one definition, I would say that, but I think we need to mirror what's on the previous page.
Thank you. Any others?
Yes.
Keep going, dude.
Sorry.
Not sorry.
The very
just
last
keep
paragraph,
going.
reimbursement to food service for deficit accounts. Is that, I know that language is in here from before. Is that, again, it's not in the template policy. Is that language necessary? I don't know what we weren't here when that was revised before.
Where are you looking?
The very last paragraph, reimbursement to food service for deficit accounts.
The one that restored by the funds, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And what was the question?
My question is that was in here, we didn't make any revisions to it, but when I reviewed the template policy, or the policy template, that language isn't there, or is it useful, is it necessary? I don't know what the discussion was back in October 15th, 2001. Thank you very much, Mr. Garrity. So I don't know what the discussion was in 2018 to get that language added, and certainly, Ms. Sheridan, I'll defer to you if we think that language is important to have in here. But again, if it's not necessary, I'd love to strike anything, because that's less that has to be maintained as the policies move forward.
I think the law requires you can't have a negative balance at the end of a year. You're required to pay for it through the general fund or something. So I would say it needs to stay in. Would you say? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
That's good. Because it's not,
required by law that you can't have a negative balance in a food service revolving.
and that being true, right? And then also noting that if I worked in, forgive me, Ms. Watt, but if I worked in food service, I wouldn't read all the policies on special education, and all the others I'd focus in on my area, and vice versa. So I think having the reminder and that note is helpful, activating language too.
And thanks to the free food for all, lunch for all, it's much easier to
It's much easier now, yes.
to handle those negative balances.
Any additional, Mr. Canfield, or other committee members of things? Because we want to get this as tight as possible before our next meeting.
That's all of my comments on this specific policy.
Ms. Saxon, Ms. Ladani?
No?
Catch everything, Ms. Sheridan? Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, the next policy we have is the civil rights complaint policy. So just a little context, we had this policy ready to go for last meeting, but we had it sent to legal, and they came back and said, we do in fact need a separate civil rights policy for child nutrition programs. File EFE, Civil Rights Complaint Policy for Child Nutrition Programs. The Foxborough School District is committed to complying with civil rights requirements in all of its programs, including the USDA Food and Nutrition Services and DESE school food and nutrition programs, and specifically the civil rights requirements outlined in Food and Nutrition Programs Instructions 113-1 and the 2016 MOU between USDA, FNS Civil Rights Division, and the Massachusetts DESE Office for Food and Nutrition Programs. Any person alleging discrimination in the district's school food and nutrition program based on race, color, national origin, age, sex, or disability, either written or verbal, has the right to file a complaint. The designee at the district/school level will provide assistance to the individuals, including but not limited to explaining the steps in the complaint process, and maintain a complete log as required by law. Legal reference, FNS 113-1, Civil Rights Compliance and Enforcement. Note, civil rights complaint policy and procedures can be found here, District Information-Foxborough Public Schools. Districts are required by FNS 113-1 to establish procedures to receive complaints, assist individuals with complaints, log and report civil rights complaints related to school food and nutrition services. Note, the superintendent or designee will develop complaint procedures. Source, MASC 2023. So if Amy has anything you want to add to that one, but
It is, as you said, it's something that we have to have. When you look on, as far as USDA and DESE, they have a template as far as the procedures. It's something that's very easy for us to put together as far as that procedure, and we can put it on the website. It's just a matter of going back, I think, to the Food Service Department subcommittee, putting that procedure together based on that template, and then just putting it on the website. And it just really outlines what you would do as far as if you had a complaint, official complaint, what you fill out a form, who that goes to, and how it's handled.
So, just clarification, thank you. The last paragraph in the note, the district information-Foxborough Public Schools, is that in the final policy going to be a hyperlink? Or is that a reference to a specific hard copy of a document?
I personally think we should do it both ways, because then that way you can go right there. And that's what I've seen on other sites where they've done that. So it just takes you there. You don't have to go looking for another one.
I agree. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. Where it's paper copy, you're not going to get that. But to your point, if it's on the website, you'll be able to hyperlink to it. So we could do it both ways.
Thank you.
Rob, your question touches upon kind of like some broader edits for the whole manual, I think, that Jamie, thank you, had begun discussing very early on with Nathan and I about when and where possible put in the hyperlink. Because classically our manual is very clearly a bunch of scanned documents that are PDFs, so it makes it kind of unruly for anybody who wants to reference something. But so that'll all be modernized, and Jamie's been helping us a great deal on that as well. We up? Next one, Madam Chair.
Please.
Okay. File DEC. Federal funds supplement, not supplant policy. The Foxborough Public School District is committed to utilizing federal grant funds to supplement the instructional programs funded by local, state, and other sources as required by law and regulation. Federal funds will be used to complement and extend district-funded program, not take the place of, supplant, programs previously funded by the district, except as provided by the granting program. The superintendent or designee will ensure that federal grant funds are dispersed appropriately and that associated record-keeping and reporting complies with required guidelines and mandates. Source: MASC, reviewed 2022. Legal references: Elementary and Secondary Education Act as amended. Cross-references policy IHBD, compensatory education. Cross-reference DK, payments procedure. We didn't have this policy. We should have this policy. And it's basically stating, and it's for all of us and, all of the taxpayers and everyone, just saying, hey, when we have federal funds, this is how we handle it. And that's why you have these policies, to give people teeth and recourse. So
I think it's required by the federal grants to have.
There's an added benefit to that. Comments or omissions or additions or edits from the committee or admin?
I would just jump in just for a moment. Just in the absence of this policy, it does not mean that we were not in compliance. Just to clarify for the room here, as someone who writes a great deal of federal grants, part of that process when the funds become available, we annually have to submit an application, we have to submit updates, and that is all a part of that application process. We are to prove in the narrative that we are not supplanting existing programming in the district. So we are in compliance despite the fact that this policy did not exist.
Right. They may, and it's anybody who's written and dealt with federal grants before, the reporting requirements are robust.
They're fun.
We have different definitions of fun, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're a great match for your position. All right. Any other questions or comments from committee or beyond?
I didn't have any on this one.
Amen.
The next one is file DGA authorized signatures. We're just expanding on the policy that we already have. File DGA authorized signatures. The superintendent and one school committee member will sign payrolls presented for approval. The committee will designate by roll call vote a single member responsible for the review and approval of all warrants as correct and approved for payment. A record of this approval will be made available on the next regular committee agenda. Such designation does not limit the responsibility of each member. If the designated school committee member is unavailable, any other member can stand in to sign required warrants and will report this at the following open regular meeting. The town treasurer, who also serves as the school department treasurer, signs all checks drawn against school department funds. No other signature is valid. Source: MASC updated 2022. Legal reference: MGL 4141, 4152, 4156. And then just a note that we want to add a reference to policy DK for this one as well.
2 in a row for me. So
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Just, I noticed that this was added in red. Why a roll call vote? Was this something you guys added, or was it
The whole
there?
paragraph was added because our policy the language in our policy, as it was written before, didn't mention any of the procedures that we've been following since
Yes.
every member has been on this committee.
During COVID and all of that,
Yeah,
when we
exactly.
were allowed to have a single designee as opposed to a quorum.
Exactly.
On the weekly warrants, but my question was particularly why by roll call vote. I was just curious.
Because when it's, I think, designating things and who's going to be, we're all financially accountable, but who's the first chair in to go and look at the stuff? We just said roll call vote.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think our practice is anytime there's an appointment, it is a roll call vote.
Yeah, it's very clear. Yeah, that way the minutes are clear and all that
Sure.
stuff. You know who voted for what.
Perfect.
Am I up? Anything else? Okay, thanks. File DJA, Purchasing Authority. Authority for purchase of materials, equipment, supplies, and services is extended to the superintendent through cost center appropriation as part of the budget-making process. The purchase of items and services within the cost center appropriation requires no further Foxborough School Committee approval except when by law or Foxborough School Committee policy the purchases or services must be put to bid. Contracts may be entered into for a period of up to 3 years. Contracts of longer duration may only be entered into by vote of the duly called town meeting. Source: updated MASC 2023, cross-reference DJE, bidding requirements. Legal reference, MGL 30B, cross-reference DJE, we gotta move that, DJE bidding requirements. So how about we just say the cross-reference once? Policy adopted 3/24/08. This was, the language we use is cost centers. And that's how the budgets are structured, that's how they're printed, that's how we study them, and it's the same on the town side. So what it said before was lists of things you're going to buy, and this is more accurate to what we do and sound financial proceedings. The language on the bottom for contract language that we pulled in from MASC just because we thought it would, it's also current practice, so we thought let's just be clear about declaring what we already do. Questions, comments, fixes, please?
Second paragraph.
Yep.
I actually had trouble reading it the way that it's written, which is from a second sentence, further Foxborough School Committee approval except when by law Foxborough School Committee. When you read it, policy, when you read it, Brent, you paused and therefore it made sense to me. The purchases of services must be put to bid. Is the language better to say requires no further Foxborough School Committee approval?
Except when?
Except when the purchases of services must be put to bid either by, as required by law or Foxborough School Committee policy.
Yeah, it's a weird sentence.
I read it 4 times this afternoon and could not figure out what it meant.
No, I almost changed it while I was reading it. No, you can't do that. Can you try that language again for me, please?
Yeah,
I just need to know.
requires no further Foxborough School, I can't even say Foxborough. Foxborough School Committee approval, except when the purchases of services must be put to bid either as required by law or Foxborough School Committee policy.
Yep. Got it.
So just flipping it around.
Sorry, I'm catching up. Awesome. Any others, folks? Okay, thank you, everybody. That's great. DK?
The last policy we have for first reading is file DK payment procedures. All claims for payment from school department funds will be processed in accordance with regulations developed by the superintendent. Payment will be authorized against invoices properly supported by approved purchase orders, with properly submitted vouchers, or in accordance with salaries and salary schedules approved by the Foxborough School Committee. As an operating procedure, the Foxborough School Committee will receive lists of monthly bills, warrants for payments from school department funds. The committee will designate by vote a single member to be responsible for the review and approval of the warrants as correct and approved for payment. Warrants will be certified as correct and approved for payment by the Foxborough School Committee and then forwarded to the Town Finance Director for processing and subsequent payment by the Town Treasurer. Actual invoices, statements, and vouchers will be available for inspection by the Foxborough School Committee. The superintendent will be responsible for assuring that budget allocations are observed and that total expenditures do not exceed the amount allocated in the budget for all items. The building administrators will be responsible for maintaining budget allocations in their respective departments. Source, MASC, updated 2022. Legal references, MGL 4141, 4152, 4156, cross-reference, DGA, authorized signatures.
I was going to, hearing you read that, Nathan, I was going to add in the new language, just say the word roll call vote again, just to be
I just wrote that because I just asked on the last one, so I wrote in roll call. I totally agree.
That's what I have. However, in the next one.
Were there others?
Anyone have anything else on policy DK?
Sweet. We'll have those ready for you next meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, second readings.
The second readings, Mr. Ehrman, fill in with me here too. These were the EFC, the free and reduced price lunch. And we incorporated the edits and adjustments as suggested by committee members last meeting. IFK, which was a graduation requirements.
Mr. Reuter?
Sorry, one at a
I have
time?
one thing that I didn't ask last time, but I do want to get clarification on.
Oh, then I'll stop, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Because the thing is, we were going to discuss these individually, and we should. Then, you know what, let me just stop there, okay?
Right.
So we believe we incorporated the thing. So for EFC, what do we got?
Yeah, it's just something that did not stand out to me last time, but did on second reading of this. In the third paragraph, the phrase, "and in accordance with the wishes of the Foxborough School Committee." I don't understand the purpose of that language. It's lovely, it's a lovely thought, but I'm not sure it serves the policy. So I guess my request is that we go, and again, the template policy does not have that language.
Is that embedded in to protect us in case the universal free meals are no longer?
Well, then the wishes isn't something that we can particularly build anything on. If it is by intent, then we need to change the language of wishes.
I'm looking for it.
Third paragraph down.
Yes.
Oh, that's not new language. Oh, great.
So wishes of, like, I'm just guessing that the intention of that is that in case the universal free lunch goes away, we can.
I think that this is old language now, and so I'm completely in the realm of conjecture. Okay.
Yeah.
My thinking there is it was there in case some permutation of the school committee and advice with administration wishes not to participate in a particular program that we have discretion around. Like, because if we have to, obviously we're going to have to. That's what I think, but I will, if other folks have thoughts on that, or if any folks have thoughts on that, please let us hear it so we can discuss it.
So I'm not offended by it. I don't understand the reason for it. And if it is something that we feel like we need to protect what our other policies say about participation in free and reduced price food services, then I do think the word wishes needs to be changed to something stronger.
No, that's fair. The word wishes does strike me as odd, unless it was strictly speaking about the prerogative of the committee.
With other policies, whatever, something that is much, and I don't know what that word would be, but if it is there for a purpose, I feel like the word wishes is not strong. And I apologize for not catching that last time.
Intent?
Yeah, I'm fine with intent.
Yeah, it's either intent or policy
Or replace.
decision. I mean,
Sorry, me.
What do folks like? Want? Intent? Done. Now, not to belabor the point, I'm going to suggest, and it's just an idea that you can entertain, committee, is that word intent does change and with good reason, the kind of the force of the policy. So I think we should hold this over until the next meeting, wherein we can vote then.
For what reason? Do you want legal to look at it, or do you want to just review
Oh,
it?
well, I mean, we
until-
can. I didn't know if I should have said it this way. I'm comfortable holding this over if people want to hold it over for another week. But if folks in the committee are comfortable voting it with suggested changes, then I'm comfortable with that too. I just wanted to offer that. That's a mechanism. We can table a given policy as many times as we want until we feel like we got it right.
How does everybody feel?
I don't feel a need to table it, and I would recommend, if we can, that we waive the second reading and acknowledge the requested edit.
Would you like to make a
Wait,
motion on it?
Dr. Burdos?
I have one other edit from Ms. Watt on here. When you look at the first bullet where it refers to the PEBT benefits, that P refers to pandemic, and we need to strike that P.
Does.
So with
Nice
the two
catch,
requested
Ms. Watt.
edits, I motion that we waive the second reading.
I'm not gonna.
I second.
That's fine.
All in favor?
Sure. Okay.
Second reading is waived.
So motion to approve policy EFC, our file EFC, the free and reduced price food services.
As amended.
As amended, yeah, thank you.
I second.
All in favor? KF.
Thank you. Awesome. Do you want to talk?
Yeah,
It's up to you, man.
I can talk about this
Go
one.
for it. Go for it.
The only brief changes we made was to remove the parentheses next to science and social studies after another discussion with admin. This is covered by, from my understanding, the Mass General Law, so we didn't need it in our table or policy.
Great.
So, I'm sorry, just to interject for a minute. I agree with you that it is covered by Massachusetts general law. U.S. history is a graduation requirement according to Massachusetts general law. The concern that I have is that it's not necessarily referenced here. So removing it in those parentheses up top and not having Massachusetts general law referenced in any way in the policy just causes me a little bit of concern. I know that it's outlined in our in our program of studies, and it's made clear to students that U.S. history is a graduation requirement. But I'm just concerned about removing that without also referencing the law.
No, that's fine. We
That's a
don't
fair
want to
point.
create problems.
Do you feel the same way about the lab sciences as well?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I would prefer, if we're going to remove it, that somewhere in the language and the policy we're referencing that those history and science requirements are in accordance with Massachusetts general
Well,
law.
and all of our science courses are lab science courses.
Correct.
Right now.
Right now, correct.
I have done a little bit more research into overall other policies, graduation requirements that other districts are adopting. I apologize for not being prepared at the last meeting. I would actually like to table this for this evening because I don't feel like this policy, I haven't seen one that I like, but I don't like this one really either because I do think it is not longstanding. And if the policy is that as we get more, or if the thought is as we get more direction from the state, then we will update, then we're going to go back to this policy, and I want to understand this policy a little bit more because it is very important. It is still developing, and I understand that. This one just feels fuzzy, and maybe with the addition of that putting that language back in helps me, but I just feel like if we could put this on the agenda for the next meeting, and if I have anything that I find, I will certainly share that with the policy subcommittee.
No, that's, you already addressed my concern, and this is more just for the rest of the committee too. Rob, I think we do need to pass one of these in the upcoming weeks, particularly probably before graduation.
I'm looking at
So we
Dr.
can
Burrows.
update it, but
Sure.
we can get the legal ref too.
If I can just share, I have it in hand, and I didn't know if it would come up tonight or not, but the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education did meet today for a long period of time and did share some updates about competency determinations in the timeline. The recommendation coming from the board, although we still have a period of public comment, and the official vote is actually not scheduled until May 20th to determine the competency determinations for the next 2 years, and then beginning with the class of 2027. There are some recommended changes as well. But the board is actually at this moment recommending that districts have a separate competency determination policy. So I hear what you're saying, Mr. Canfield, but at the same time, I don't think that the changes that are coming from the board are actually going to impact this policy in particular. I think what we're going to end up needing to land on is having a separate IKF-CD policy that spells out the competency determination and is separate from the graduation requirements. Or at least that's my understanding coming out of today and reading through the memo and the presentations from today.
Right, and Dr. Burrows, I certainly appreciate that information. That is even more reason for us to table it so that we can try to understand any of the conversations or any of those things as filtered through MASC before we actually approve this policy. That's my feeling.
Well, regardless,
I can see your point.
Regardless, I think I'd rather have the correct legal refs on it before we're voting on it. So that's enough reason for me to table it for a week.
Is there risk or harm to our schools or our students if we delay this for one meeting?
No.
Not if we delay this for one meeting, no.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, second read, if you want it, for file JJIF, prevention and management of head injuries and concussions in extracurricular athletic activities, affectionately known as our concussion policy. The corrections that are in this version you see tonight, with the thanks of the suggestions of committee members, are updating to be consistent in our language with parents and guardians, as well as, frankly, just correcting and simplifying the language around a healthcare provider, as opposed to a litany of specialists, which were mentioned clumsily in the last read. So those are what I would consider more administrative changes or housekeeping changes made to this version of it over the last open meeting we had.
I'd like to acknowledge that all of my requested edits were incorporated into the second version of the policy. So if no one else has any other edits or questions, I motion that we waive the second reading of this policy, policy JJIF.
I second.
All in favor?
Awesome.
So motion to approve file JJIF, the prevention and management of head injuries and concussions in extracurricular athletic activities.
I second.
All in favor? Great. Thank you again for all your hard work, everyone's updates, and everyone's input. Thank you.
Policy is 73 pages long. Okay, that's hyperbole. It's very long. So thank you for that, everybody.
Okay, we're going to move on to community updates. Do we have any community updates from the end? Mr. Gansfield?
No.
Mr. Arman? Ms. Thaxton?
Just a reminder that Foxborough CPAC, along with Mansfield CPAC, will be having their community resource fair on Wednesday, March 5th. We are trying to collect, it will be at the Ahern School. We are getting a bunch of vendors to come in. The vendors will be for physical, speech, and ABA therapies, mental health and academic services, government agencies and sports and activity camps. These are all resources for students who might need a little extra support. And also, we are trying to get a bunch of promotional material for colleges that support these types of programs. So not just schools here, but beyond. So please keep that in mind. So it's Wednesday, March 5th, 6 to 8 at the Ahern School. Please let everybody know. We're letting the surrounding communities know. We're hoping that this fair will be well attended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ruder?
I do not.
What's that?
Dr. Burrows? Dr. Burrows? Anything? Anything over there? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Food service.